Hey guys, welcome to Strongman Sunday. As you can see, we are joined by Lynn Morehouse, the man behind the official Strongman Games, which is fast approaching. It's going to be another epic show this year. Thank you for joining us, Lynn. I hope you're well, buddy.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
It's coming around fast. I know this contest every year, you put so much effort into, so much work throughout the year. How's the preparation going? And, you know, before we dive into who's in the comments and the questions we've got for you, how's everything going leading into this year's contest?
You know, every year I tell myself I'm going to start sooner. And then all of a sudden I have to do a post that says 8 weeks out and I'm panicking. So I don't understand how I can start sometimes in January, but still feel this panic at the end. And I think I just need to get used to it.
Yeah, I think it's such a huge effort and huge competition. You probably never truly feel ready for it, do you?
No, and you know, I think it could be if we were already settled where we knew exactly the location, we knew exactly the format. I think that's one of the best things that the UK has with the Giants Live system is there's been enough years that you have some consistency. And I know being a part of that team and the capacity that I am, there's some benefit to that where it's like, okay, I know I've worked with this venue, this location, and we're still in that growth stage where we're still discovering where are we going to find that home, because we've tried a few different locations, and you know, for us this year, it's a new one. And I'll say right off the bat, you know, Arlington, Texas is just a suburb of Dallas. We are there because that's where we think the most strongman fans in the United States will be. Yeah. And the goal is to fill up the stadium. And I'll continue to push to fill up that stadium. And, you know, that's kind of, that makes every year a little bit harder because you don't have the benefit of knowing exactly the floor plan from last year, exactly the people, all of that. So I hope to one day say, I'll be at this location over and over and over again. But also, I've always believed that the world's strongest title kind of needs to move around a little bit.
Sure. This first time official Strongman Games is going to be in Texas, which is, we know a lot of Strongman fans and Strongman athletes that are
at every level as well.
Texas. Yeah. So I think logistically, probably a good spot in the US.
This is actually this was a conversation we were having, I think, in London at the Giants Live Strongman Classic between the likes of Mitch, Lucas, and his coach, Alex, trying to figure out like where would be the best place to be in the USA. And I think everyone collectively agreed it would be Texas.
Do you like something I've thought about myself? Do you think it's hard to fill out a stadium for a show like official Strongman Games? Because it's not like a Giants Live, which is a 4-hour show. Yeah. It's a 3 or 4 day, 5 day event commitment in some cases with some of the classes we've got now. It's very difficult for people to keep their attention for that long, I think, in general.
I would go and say, if you think that the same people are going to be in the same seat for the whole time, then yes, it's going to be very challenging. But there's plenty of other events that can fill up a stadium with I would say a rotating spectator base. And we're trying to see that as we've changed the schedule last year and then this year, where you as an athlete, you have an hour and a half to 2 hours at most that you need to be full athlete mode. We're seeing that the athletes prefer that. And then their friends and family especially prefer that. And then they will go and then cheer on some of the other athletes. But if you're expecting every single fan to sit for 8 to 10 hours, yeah, it's going to be very challenging. But I do think that if we keep it exciting and we can get it so that it's a couple of hours to cheer on your favorite athletes, and maybe there's a couple of different divisions that have your favorite athletes. Mm-hmm. And we see that with the live stream. Certainly, we're hoping to see that with the in-person as well, where you cheer on the friends and family or the person that you know in person, and then the person who maybe looks like you or is just you're a fan of, right?
I think that change was a really good call by you guys. Really good, because it is a very long day if you're just, or a long 3 days if you're there all day long waiting for your class to go. Much better to be there. Like you said, if you're there with your family, they can come and enjoy the events. If there's certain athletes that you want to watch, you can come in and watch them, and then you've got time to go do other things. And I guess trying to grow the experience outside there. So I don't know if you've got many events or many stands coming that will be around for people to kind of like an expo type thing. Those type of things that just keep people interested without having to be there watching all the time. Because as a hardcore strongman fan, it's hard to sit there. I remember the first year I came and did the commentating, me and Randy,
22.
We were shattered. And you get to the point where you're not thinking straight, you know. And for someone that loves strongman, it was almost too much strongman.
Well, so Liz, I think that was 21 because it wasn't the hurricane year, right?
Oh, yes. Of course, it was 21. Yeah,
it was 21 because the hurricane year that just shattered everyone. But condensing 3 long days to 2, that wrecked everyone. The one thing while we're talking about that concept of it's better to just as the athlete and the fans run through your division faster. You know, I have toyed with a format that other people have done in the past. I've personally not agreed with it, but I'd love to hear, you know, the pushback on it. It's like we could run through all 4 events for half the divisions in Friday and then 4 for the Saturday. But I feel like with a Sunday final, now you have a different level of recovery. And so I don't like that. And then, you know, even as we have teens and adaptive, I get the question of our awards for teens and adaptive on Sunday. I was like, well, I don't really want you to have to compete and wait for your awards because yes, it's better for me because I know the athlete will sit there and wait, but it just doesn't feel right. So I haven't figured out or solved, in my opinion. I mean, we have the ability to run through all the semifinal events for a division in a day, but the recovery for the athletes doesn't feel fair for a Sunday final if we do that.
Sure. You're giving some people an advantage over others, I guess. Yeah. It's one of those things. You look at other sports, some do run like that. They'll do teens first, then masters, then they'll kind of do weight classes. And normally you're saving I don't want to say premier event, but the premier event, let's just kind of throw it out there, is going to be whichever event attracts the most fans. And normally that's the heavyweight.
They get the weekend. Yeah, they get the weekend. Everyone else is a weekday leading up to it.
It's certainly an option that could be looked at. And if people have their say, please feel free to comment in the comments. Do you want to see who's in the comments with us?
Laura got in early with a question for Lynn. So are there any plans to improve World's Strongest Women to entice all of the big names to actually compete, whether that be prize money, time of year, or something else? What do you think is your main barrier, Lynn?
Well, certainly I'd be a fool not to be paying attention, right? With Rogue Invitational and the Arnold putting on the full pro women's side of that, it has grown a lot in the last years, which is fantastic. I would say, if I'm being perfectly honest, on like a 5-year plan, which I always try to think of, I would love to have World's Strongest Woman operate like World's Strongest Man, where OSG in the opens is a qualifying path. And you can properly treat World's Strongest Women as the top 10 to 20, and it includes 82s and open because, frankly, they're mixed. We see that in the Rogue. We see that in the Arnold. And that would be a good way that you can put the focus all on that title and allow an athlete that might even be like a Claire Myler. She should be in her master's division earning those titles, but she's also still lockstep with those open women in the 82s, and forcing her to choose between different goals is a little bit of a shame. So if I had to say the best thing that we could hope for is that World's Strongest Woman as a proper name can eventually have the same title bearing that World's Strongest Man does, deserve its own show, have enough sponsors to support its own show. Because it's unfair to compare to Rogue Invitational, who doesn't, I don't know the finances, but I assume they don't need to make $1 off the show. You know, it's a marketing aspect. And then the Arnold Expo has so many years and the Expo supporting it that I don't know if the women bring enough of the crowd versus them being subsidized, where I do hope that World's Strongest Woman can have its own competition, and then OSG's open class can be a qualifier for that perhaps, as well as the podium of the different weight classes, perhaps also earning an invite. So if I had to dream for 5 years, how I would be able to ever entice on an equal playing field, it would be that.
Sounds good.
I like the sound of that. I think it's always the problem is always money, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
If we're being real, it is money. So people need to pay to watch these shows first off. Like Britain's Strongest Woman is a standalone show in the UK, but they do have to use a much smaller venue to pay for it. And so it's not like an empty stadium that they've spent hundreds of thousands or whatever, God knows what, to book it out. So I guess we need people supporting these shows and companies to get on board also.
100%. The other events that have the high prize money, I don't know the financials, but I would bet that some of what's supporting that prize money doesn't mean it's coming all from the support of that one contest.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. Cousin Fred gifting memberships. Thank you very much, Fred. We hope you're doing well. Got a couple of other regular faces in here. Monica Van Magnussen's here. And Andrew with the comment here, a bit more general, Strongman. Which of the rogue events will cost Mitch the most points? Both him and Evan don't have it's like him and Evan both don't have a real weak event.
There's not many events I class as a weakness. There's other athletes I think have more strengths, perhaps. Mitch is looking really good, though, and the goal is typical Mitch to be as consistent as ever. That's his game plan. Certain events he believes he can win. Other events, like I don't think the deadlift is an event he'll win, but he'll be scoring good points in. His overhead's looking good. I think the moving
events.
They should be pretty good for him. Stones sometimes has caused him issues in the past. Maybe if I had to pick a weakness, it would probably be that. But he's had great performances on them as well.
He came second on the Inverstones last year.
It's not that he's got a weakness as such. It's just executing, which is key. But that could be said for a lot of people as well. Being a great athlete is not just being a great athlete; it's performing under pressure on the day. And that's what all the athletes have to do.
Lynn, do you follow like the pro level strongman throughout the year? Do you watch the competition? Like, not to put you on the spot, but how closely do you stay to all the results? Because there's so much now.
I am a fan. I was a fan of World's Strongest Man. I've been competing in strongman for 19 years. I was a fan for a decade before that. So I absolutely follow it. I have a reason working with the Giants Live team that I watch actively the live stream of every single Giants Live throughout the year. I watched the live stream. I'm in the US, so the time zone wasn't as bad for the Shaw Classic, the Strongest Man on Earth this year. World's Strongest Man, I will admit that if I'm not there in person like I was in 22, 23, 24, 25, I couldn't be there in Sacramento. It's much harder to follow along with that. So I probably have less knowledge of World's Strongest Man than I have the others. Rogue Invitational, I absolutely hop onto the live stream, watch that. I look at a lot of the footage there. It's important. It is still, when you're making events, Giants Live, World's Strongest Man, that's always been the goal. That is the benchmark we're all trying to achieve. We want the look and feel of a World's Strongest Man. We want the spectacle and crowd of a Giants Live. How do we do that without paying attention? So yes, I absolutely pay attention.
Question for you then, a little bit based on that. Which OSG event do you think has been the best or most successful in your opinion? As the man that's been there from the start.
Like a year or...
Yeah, which contest would you say that you've put on has been, you sat back and thought that was the best one so far? And I know there's not going to be one where you'll sit back and say that was perfect. There's always going to be things that we want to get better. But so far, what do you consider like, that's what I've got to beat?
Ooh, when you first said event, I was thinking individual event, and I was just hard walk. Was on my end there. So it's interesting because for me, there are different benchmarks than I have for athletes, and I do a survey every year to kind of help with that. I'll be honest, I got some of the most positive feedback from some of the Daytona years. However, I think the biggest level up came from West Virginia. I noticed that, that was our first year with the video wall. We had the ribbon going around. The arena was it felt a little bit more. There were plenty of failings that I had to work with, that we hadn't adjusted the schedule yet. So the warm-up area was just chaos, all things like that. Charleston itself couldn't support 1,000 people leaving an arena at 8 p.m. But if we switched the schedule, maybe it could. There were things about that. But I remember just the visual feeling of that. It felt like something. 2022 was great. The first year you came on board for the commentary with Radzi, I felt we also had a level up. You get these moments where it's like, that's so much better than it was. And then it's steady a little bit. And then for Charleston, I felt like the visual representation of what we were doing leveled up. You could say last year, the live stream leveled up. But
I've been talking to Don about the live stream for this year. He's great. He really listens to what people say, and each year things come back, and he's been showing me some of his infographics.
Don from ADL.
Yeah. I just want to give them a shout out because they do a great job.
So I cheated on the answer and gave like 3 different years.
No, that's okay. It's always interesting to see what the promoters feel is the best, because athletes see it differently. Athletes will see what their best performance or best events were. We're looking for a different answer from you. We're looking at a different perspective.
Or maybe how long the days were and all that.
Just different kind of ideas, isn't it?
Andy asking Monica about the swimming pool load. Is it sandbags? Surely it can't be sandbags in the swimming pool. This was the event I was very excited about when we found out about it. So this is for the Magnuson Classic. They've released their events today. For anyone who missed them, I will very, very quickly read them out if you have not seen the announcement. We also got the last 3 athletes in the lineup. So those are Chris Beetham, Kim Urak, and David. Oh, is it David Pulowski? Yes. And the events are the Husafel Carry, Stone Over Bar, Aluminium Block Press Medley, Swimming Pool Load, the Throw Medley, Hand Over Hand Hoist, Axle Deadlift, and a Log Lift Medley. So
it's going to be fun.
Very exciting. Oh, very cold.
It's going to be cold for those guys getting out of the pool.
I wish it wasn't so close to OSG. That's one of it. Goes back to the roots of Strongman. That's a bucket list, I think, for anyone, whether you're a fan or an athlete. You need to go to Iceland and to be involved in a Strongman competition that really works with the natural elements. Monica and Magnus do a fantastic job.
They do. Is it the weekend before OSG or the weekend after?
It is. Yeah.
Oh, good. So
maybe 2 weeks before.
I think it's 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
This year.
Oh, good. So we'll be able to defrost afterwards. How nice. How nice. Hope you are all keeping well. Liz, I hope your post-comp sickness has eased. It has not, thank you, Ronan. I have actually made Loz ill. Poor Loz. Well, we're all down now, aren't we?
We are.
We need more swimming pool loads. I agree.
We do not. From a fan's point of view, it's great. From an athlete's point of view, it's terrible.
Levi with the members comment, happy Sunday. And cousin Fred with the super chat. Thank you, Fred. Good morning, afternoon, evening, all. Hope all is well. And hello, Lynn. Welcome to the Insane Asylum. Speak for yourself, Fred. Lynn knows us. He knows what he's getting into when he says yes to coming on the channel.
I've been a member of the asylum
for many years. Yes. I remember the first time I ever spoke to you, Lynn. It was when Loz was competing at the North American Giants Live. Yep. Did you do it twice?
No, just the once.
Just the once, yeah.
Right?
And you were streaming on Facebook for me on your phone. And this was like, it was like it was done on a potato or something. And you were like, can you see, Liz? Can you see? And I was like, yes, thank you so much.
We try our best.
We do what we got to do. Yeah,
we've definitely improved the production since then.
Yeah. No more potato streams. Was OSG Euros 2016 the first OSG Championships? Asked Mike.
So that's something that's a little bit interesting, right? So the first official strongman year was 2016, and Aaron Mullen hosted 90 kilos and I think a couple other of the men's weight classes in Indiana, and under the World's Strongest Man 90 kilos. And then we had Masters World's Strongest Man and World's Strongest Woman in the UK in 2016 as well. That was sort of the return of World's Strongest Woman. But it wasn't until 2017 when I came on board that we came up with the name Official Strongman Games and pulling it all into one. So the concept has been there since 2016, and the official name OSG and all that was 2017 and onward.
Cool. I remember the first ever clip I saw of OSG. It must have been about 2018, something like that. And I just remember seeing maybe 5 to 10 lanes of people doing a deadlift ladder and thinking, I was like, what the hell is this? This is awesome. Because it looks so much like CrossFit.
Well, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that. So 2017, we did not do head-to-head. So we had, and by the way, when you talk to athletes, some of their favorite years was 2017 because we had a truck pull, we had max car, it wasn't a max car deadlift, it was a car deadlift, a max log, but it was, to be honest, chaos for the MC and the live stream. You can't follow that many things going on at once. We were only 2 days, 270 athletes at that time. But the events were what people wanted to do, but it's very hard to do that as a true head-to-head. 2018, I went to head-to-head format, and I had chosen 5 lanes. And what I had learned from that was actually most apparent with sandbag toss. I was watching 5 lanes of people just chucking things, and I was like, I can't even follow this. It's absolute madness and chaos. And so I found that 4 lanes was a little bit more followable. And then you start to make improvements like the rep counters that Giants Live and OSG use. I created after listening to a clip of the live stream from Radzi and Laws where they went and said, we don't know how many reps yet. We only see what you're seeing. And it was just like a light bulb. It's like, they don't know how many reps. Yeah. There's no way to count 4 lanes. So how do I fix that? But that must have been 2018. And it was a big transition going to head-to-head, and 5 lanes was just honestly a little bit too much.
Yeah, fair. Got a question here from Matty. Kind of interested, but does OSG use events as like a tester to use for World's Strongest Man and Giants Live? Also, awesome new tattoo, Liz. Do you guys are you the guinea pigs for potential events we see in Giants Live and World's Strongest Man, officially or not?
I hate to break it, but I don't think we are. And the reality is the events that I choose, because the equipment is such a limiting factor in budget there. World's Strongest Man and Giants Live have different equipment and different budgets, and usually 2 lanes at max. And so they really aren't going to be able to get a good test of an event that they would do as a stronger visual for 2 people by throwing it to me to test for 4. However, there have been some events that I think we've done well in our format that have turned into good events for the other competitions. I believe the original sandbag steeplechase was in OSG Europe's, and that was Dave Warner and I.
Yeah, I was going to say, was it Dave Warner that started?
Yeah, we were trying to think on how we can basically add more loads with less equipment. So that was our solution.
Genius.
It's simple but effective.
You do see many events from OSG trickle down to the grassroots level competitions.
You're definitely trendsetters. What's the one event, if you had to name one, that when you were planning, you thought, this is going to be great, but in reality or in hindsight, it was absolutely awful? Go on, Lynn.
Oh, absolutely awful.
Look deeply inwards. All right, not absolutely awful.
I think Liz has one in mind.
I do.
So I still haven't given up. I would go and say that, realistically, there's two. The first Viking press was one where changing the heights for the different athletes, we had to take all the weights off just to change the heights. And that was one I had such high hopes for. And then the reality kind of killed it. But then we made improvements. And then the second one would be the wrecking ball hold, where I truly do love the concept. But my goal, I didn't quite have enough time to reach, which is I want to eliminate the subjectivity of a judge. I want to use a pressure plate. And I still achieved my goal of time starts equally for everyone. And so as a spectacle, you can see whoever drops, that's when it drops. There's no gamesmanship of someone waiting to pull up at the last little bit. But I want to have that be, pressure plate, all the Netflixy lights on, big X, all of that, But yeah, those two gave me the most heartache, and I had such high expectations, and then the heartache and the reality.
Yeah.
What was yours, Liz?
No, I don't want to say, because I was hoping he'd say it. For me,
you were on about that ruck race.
Yeah, the Go Ruck one. Yeah, but only for comedy value, it was actually brilliant. The amount of turtles we saw stuck on their backs like that was actually quite funny.
See, the difference there is I did not have high hopes for that.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so the fact that we survived, I was like, mission accomplished, never doing that again. There were 5 athletes that the extended hip belt did not fit around. Those people I felt bad for, because the bag would hit them in the back of the head when they lurch forward so much. But that could have gone much worse than it did. And I just didn't think it was going to be the best event in the world as we were starting. So, yeah.
And they were all coming out like Dora the Explorer with their backpacks on.
I'm thrilled that you thought it was going to be amazing, and then we're let down.
Let's not get carried away.
It is interesting, though, like how we can kind of visualize things and they sound really good, and then in reality they just don't work. And then other times it can sound quite bad, and events can work quite well.
I think it was in 21 when you guys did the car walk for the first time. It's like, yes, everyone gets to do a car walk. This is like staple strongman. This is epic. But the reality was the cameras were only set up at one end, so it had to be reset every single time. And it ended up being, because it was also in the heat stages, not the final. Wasn't it?
I know I joke about a backlift. I've actually got my backlift top on right now. But could you imagine the hassle that would be at OSG?
Oh God,
it would be awful.
It would be the most boring thing ever to see like 400 people do a backlift.
So when you said the car walk in 2021, that was another big lesson, because I had this apparatus for a pallet jack to get the car from the side. And the reality is, I'm very accustomed to using a pallet jack. The volunteer people out there, the scrutiny, and the fact is you had to get it right, because you can't just shimmy it. And so just watching that and being like, oh my God, this is, they can't reset the vehicles. We fixed that or improved that drastically, where we were able to go straight back in future years. But that first year, that event took 2 hours longer than expected. And that's a prime example of exceedingly high hopes. And then the reality of the reset kicks in, similar to Viking press.
Yeah. We got a super chat from Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. Will OSG ever come to Europe?
I mean,
so we have OSG Europes, but could the world final come to Europe?
Yeah, my goal with the world championship is that it should be able to travel the world. I'm on the camp that's a little bummed that World's Strongest Man has been in the U.S. for so long. Even though it's convenient for me, I feel like it's losing some of the visual appeal that I fell in love with. Yeah. The last 2 years with their arena floor, I was like, now you've lost the truck pull, you've lost certain events. And I don't really know that I'm in Sacramento. So
you could be anywhere, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not part of the competition anymore. Whereas it used to almost be like part competition, part TV travel vlog type thing.
To go back to the question, will OSG ever come to you? So you've gone all over now with OSG regional events, haven't you?
Yeah.
So, like, for example, I do look to see, all right, what are the biggest factors, right? There's a lot of athletes, so you need to think about the travel for them, and it requires a lot of equipment. The UK, we do have OSG European Championships because the Giants Live team has enough equipment to put that on. And I would say, before I even answer the question fully, everyone who tells me if you brought this to the UK, it'd sell out arena. I was like, then why can't we sell out the OSG European Championships?
Yeah.
It's a very similar event. You still have exceedingly high profile names, but we're not seeing, and I believe it's the format difference, but that's my argument immediately when someone says you would sell out a 6,000 seat arena. It's like, well, we haven't. So something's missing there. But for example, I'm going in 3 weeks to Taiwan. They have a promoter who's doing a 350 athlete strongman competition in Taiwan. You go and look at Australia with stand or submit, equipment wouldn't be an issue. Then it just becomes travel is so hard, so expensive. But it's on the roadmap, but you need to go somewhere where you don't completely sacrifice all the athletes. And unfortunately, with 400 athletes, even if it was 300, you're still not like a Worlds or Giants Live where you're paying the travel for the athlete. So you have to keep in mind that there are some athletes that simply won't be able to afford it. So you want it to be in an affordable place. One of the things I like about DFW for OSG this year, it's the first time Australia's had a direct flight. Those guys, they've had the hardest travel every single year and just perform beautifully. Now they have a direct flight. That's something that I do factor into. But yeah, if the equipment's there, the crowd is there, and it's not too ungodly expensive for people to get there, it's on the table. But I would love to see the OSG European Championships be that guinea pig before Worlds. And I'm really not seeing their crowd numbers supporting the additional load of bringing all the Americans and everything over for the World Championships. I'm happy to be wrong, but I just don't see it. Do you guys have a different view on the OSG Europes?
No, I think you're right, to be honest. If we can't sell out OSG Europes here, then there's nothing to say that we would.
In terms of the big names, you're looking at the same people.
Yeah.
Both. And no, and at the moment, I personally don't think OSG will sell out an arena. I think it's a much better grassroots sport than show. Yeah. I think what it's done, it's got so many more people competing in strongman, strongwoman. There are way more people. When you and me started, there was very few people doing it. Oh, yeah. Now you have people all over the world that have access to compete in this sport at a high level. Whereas before you had to be a freak to compete in this sport if you wanted to do it. Otherwise you were doing it in a car park with some mates, or you had to really know the right people. Now there's a website you can go on. You can upload your best performances. If you're good enough, you'll get invited to this premier show. And I think in terms of sport and development that side, it's the best thing we have. I think in terms of selling out an arena, we're going to struggle with OSG. That's my personal view. And I'd love to be proven wrong and see, lots more people coming to watch and support. But I think you're only going to get absolute hardcore of the hardest core fans will come and watch these type of shows, and then family and competitors.
And to be clear, I'm cheating the system. I'm going to smaller arenas.
Makes sense. Why pay for the biggest arena?
You've got to kind of. Yeah. I would rather see us attract more sponsors, be able to look after the athletes a little bit better in that respect, rather than focus on selling tickets. Because I don't think OSG is going to sell enough tickets to generate the money that the big shows can generate in terms of strongman right now, because strongman at that level is a show. People are paying to see the super freaks. They're seeing a 4-hour super freak show.
So
it's different when you've got 400
relationship between spectators and sponsors. The sponsors need that attendance number to be high. and that can be via eyeballs through social media and live stream as well. Or better yet, a full-on broadcast contract, that kind of thing. But that is something that I've looked at as well. It's like, okay, do you go down the path of a full expo? But even then, it needs that crowd to come to it to support the expo. And so it is a challenge. The best thing I can do is what I'm doing this year, which is going where the people are, going where the weather's good, drivability is good. We have our highest likelihood ever of getting close to filling up the stands.
Cool.
Awesome. When you sort of look back at some of your former champions, like the men's open weight, your alumni, I guess, of champions, do you feel like a proud dad?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Do you? You're like, oh, my babies are doing so well.
There are so many different, instances where I was like, a life goal unlocked, that kind of thing. And, year one, I could say wholeheartedly, Big Z, Vitas Blakaitis, they were the big names for that year. Yes, we had amazing athletes, Nick Best, Ken McClellan, big athletes there, but that was, it almost added the credibility for this being a true world championship that first year. And then as it's progressed, where you get a Terry Hollins, when he first got to Masters, I wish so much that the first event hadn't taken you Outlaws, because I was feeling the exact same for that. This year with Graham Hicks, JF being able to come, it's so exciting for me because you realize that you're producing something that has enough value to just want to be a part of.
Sure.
And, yes, there's the title, but it's not, we all know that it's not the big money maker of the year. It really is, you want to be there because you want to be there. It's not an easy contest. It's hard, 3 days of effort. And the fact that people are choosing to come that have all these other opportunity, it absolutely makes me feel proud every time when I say that I'm involved in it.
No, absolutely. It is. I think every class, like, their goal is to get to OSG. It is the pinnacle at this point for so many athletes. And it does have legitimacy in those titles now. When you see some of the names that have won some of the classes, and you've attracted like the big names, like you say, this year you've got JF Karan and Hicksy come in. You've had the likes of, Mark Felix still supports it even now. Zadrunas is doing the 50s this year, I believe, which is amazing. And then in the open men, we've seen so many great champions come from
OSG.
Some amazing weight class category winners as well. It's, we attracted John Hack competed last year, obviously not a winner, but you're attracting great athletes from different sports that want to come and compete. So in terms of sporting prowess, I think OSG is doing a fantastic job. And I think if we can kind of push the live stream, make that as entertaining as possible, and keep making it a major title that will increase the reach of, we have more sponsors within the sport now. And with more athletes competing, that allows us to put a bit more money back into the sport. And I think, if companies can get behind contests like OSG, then it's going to help that grassroots more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Question here, Lozbaba. What did you
think
cheeky
baby
of that jabroni, Eddie Hall, putting himself on his Mount Rushmore of strongman and not the Big Z?
I think you would word it better than anyone.
Who, me?
No,
this guy. I think Eddie is an absolute master at getting engagement on his posts.
Indeed.
I wouldn't read too much more into it than that.
From the grave. Good to see you.
From the grave. Most of us agree that Thor, Shaw, and Z should be on that Mount Rushmore. But who is your fourth face? I'll ask you as well, Lynn. Who's your fourth? If those were three of them. Thor, Shaw, and Z. Oh, would you switch one of them out?
Like 4 people is so hard to put on that list.
It's so few, isn't it?
It is. There's arguments for so many. I'd probably put Pudzianowski on there.
Think I would.
I think if I was going to have to pick one, but you twist it like Kazma's got a shout Sigmarsson, Magnus Magnuson.
Do you realize all of those athletes that are in that first little portion there are post 2000? There's 23 years of World's Strongest Man ahead of time. So Pujanowski also in there. But when I looked at Thor, Shahlaei, I was like, that's all like 2003 and on. It's kind of a shame not to think of Magnus, Kazmaier, Jeff Capes. There's 20 years that seems almost forgotten.
Yeah.
When you're like, this sport exists from those 20 years.
Absolutely. I think 4 is such a hard amount to have. When you think of all the great champions that we've had, it is a difficult one. It's a fun one to talk about. I love the discussion, and I love to hear people's opinions. And you often find different people of different generations have their favorites. There's certain people out there, they won't have anything different than Sigmarsson must be on that list.
Yeah.
And for someone like myself, Zydrunas is number 1.
Yeah.
But like a modern fan will probably have Brian as number 1, or like an Eddie or a Thor. It's what we grow up with. You kind of a bit more drawn to.
Or what gets us into the sport in the first place.
Yes.
Yeah. In which case you would be my Mount Rushmore. Rachel with the members comment, Matt Rag, who did a hooper and he won New Zealand's Strongest Man without doing the last event.
Well done, Matt Rag.
Congratulations to
Matt Rag has been dominating in New Zealand for a long time now.
Yeah. Question from Bob. Lynn, will OSG be coming back to Daytona anytime soon?
I mean, it's always an option each year. We were in Daytona 3 years in a row. The hurricane definitely made the feedback be like, all right, we're kind of ready for some change. But I loved the venue itself. I loved the location. I liked the fact that people could go to, Disney World before or after.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say, though, with Daytona is we would have to admit that OSG is only a friends and family audience if we chose to go to Daytona again. And that may be the course of action that we have to take because it's like, all right, if it is a friends and family audience, let's give them the best vacation of their life. And so Daytona would rank up there with that. However, if we find that going to a more populated area that has more people and more strongman fans ends up providing that louder arena, and we can potentially get money coming from not the athletes, then we would probably stick with a more populated area, TBD. But Daytona will always have a strong place in, my heart and the goals for the event, because it's a great vacation destination for everyone. But the only thing I would say is we did not get the casual person who's at the beach in Daytona hopping into OSG. So that would be just believing and understanding it's friends and family only at that stage.
Yeah. Might I suggest Orlando in that case?
Oh.
Then we're right in the action. One of my fondest memories of Daytona, I think it was our first year there in 21. We nipped down to the 7-Eleven, which was just like down the street from the Hilton. And there was a lady there, well into her 60s, wearing nothing but a tiny thong red bikini.
It wasn't one of
the locals.
It was
Daytona Beach Town in November, December isn't always hopping.
Something was hopping. What a place.
Definitely some sights. That was.
Oh yeah,
sure.
yeah.
It was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
What did you want me to click on?
Nothing. I was just showing you.
Denise saying, Lynn, I'm planning to come to OSG as a volunteer. Is there a specific way or specific someone to contact to sign up?
Good question.
Yeah, normally I post up a volunteer form. I'm probably a few days out from that. In general, most people kind of know someone who's on the crew or know me, and they'll reach out ahead of time, and I've tentatively put them on a list. But if you don't reach out to me directly, there will be a volunteer form posted and announced on the OSG website and Instagram within a week.
I'm guessing Eric meant OSG and not SCL, because it says, Lynn, any thoughts on an SCL event in Canada again, in Ontario?
Maybe they're having SCL in Canada. I know this was the first SCL in USA.
Yeah. There has been ones in Canada before. I competed in Canada years ago.
Back in 2011, they did the final in Canada.
Yes, yeah.
Strongman is bigger in Canada than it is in the US. I've been looking at the combination of things. Niagara Falls. So it has a Canadian side, a US side, so you can pull from both, and has its own right as a destination that people might want to go to. So that would be something as a test to see about the Canadian audience coming down. Maine is also a good example of a place to go to. The challenge there is the weather that time of year, but it also has a very strong Canadian, border right there. But those are the only two kind of connections to Canada that I have really been thinking about. I would lean so heavily on JF for advice if I was trying to do anything with Canada.
Absolutely.
Where are we? When was the first OSG comp? We did answer this earlier. I think, was it 2016?
Was the first official strongman related competition under the official strongman games name and banner. It was 2017, but for all purposes, 2016.
Yeah. Liz wants to go back to Bucky's. I absolutely do. Can't I leave her? For the smaller, lower budget comps, like the one Liz won silver at, our corners cut on the medicals. Was Liz given a proper medical, or did she merely sign a waiver? I was not given a medical. But no, so I think in that venue, as part of the insurance, because I know that the organizer had event insurance for it, and they had to have medically trained people, I guess, or first aiders on site. But no,
it's pretty common for most sports, though.
Yeah,
you're not going to have medicals done for everyone competing in Sunday League football.
No,
it's just ridiculous to expect it as well. Otherwise, no one's going to be competing.
To be fair, even in a lot of the top level competitions, World's Strongest Man is the only one I can think of where a full medical is given, right? Both before they travel.
There's
and
plenty of athletes that will do it privately.
Yeah.
People will get blood tests done, have medicals done themselves, and that, in my opinion, it should be your responsibility as an athlete. I think we're in a generation of where people look to blame other people a lot of the time. But if you're going to compete in any sport, there's risks to it.
I would have blamed myself.
Yeah. You've got to train and get yourself into a position where you are physically capable of doing these things. And if you're just being pushed into competing in a sport that's dangerous and you're not ready for it, do not compete in it. That'd be the advice I give to you. And obviously, if you take any physical exercise, make sure you do consult a doctor before you do so. Don't put it on a promoter to expect them to give you your exact medical history.
Yeah, I think the difference between preventative up front, really it's only the TV broadcast level competitions that have that.
Yeah.
But the for emergency or for just general injuries that happen in strongman, I'd say the mid-tier and above all kind of have that level. For OSG, I think our largest group was that Charleston. I think we had almost 24 people that were dedicated towards recovery for the athletes in some manner. And that's separate from the venue required EMT,
Sure. A lot of competitions will have like physios and chiropractors and people that will help with general injuries or muscle aches.
Or not seen a top level comp that hasn't had that, to be honest.
No, not in this modern era, definitely.
Interesting question from Jack. What's the process of event selection and how do you go about the weight selection for so many classes at new events? This is a great one. I know you have your matrix, don't you? Talk to us about the matrix.
So, first of all, you've got historic data. I know that you guys, in the past, you used to go to Strongman Archive, look at results, look at records, things like that, or you have athletes in your own personal network. I've got enough years that I can look back to, well, how did we do on the deadlift ladder 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. And I can make adjustments, and you'll see sometimes it's just a little 5% adjustment lighter, 5% heavier, things like that. When you try out a brand new event, sometimes it really just comes down to testing. And to a degree, that testing isn't across 14 classes. You have 4 or 5 people that you can trust. If they're top level, and you have other people where all right, I wouldn't expect them to win. So if they're doing this too easily. So And then you kind of realize that there is a general progression with the weight classes, that unless you're doing crazy things like an 18-inch deadlift, 80 kilos will be lower than 90, which is lower than 105. Some of the events where it's more, elevated deadlift is the one example where I've seen 80s beat the 90s because there's body differences.
Yeah.
But in general, I look at the data whenever I can. Natural stone load is one that I don't have a lot of data on. And, some would go and say, hey, without tacky, trying to do almost the same weights you would have on tacky Atlas stones is crazy. But I would go and argue there's 5 stones. All I really need to make sure is that they're still getting a spread across those 5 stones. I have no doubt someone will get the 5th stone, and very few people will get 0. And so that's fine. It's really hard if I just said natural stone to shoulder, and then I don't have that data, and the risk of tons of zeros, or the risk of, this happens a lot with competitions with car deadlift because they don't sometimes know the vehicle ahead of time. You get 25 reps because it's just way too far off. So I do my best, but I've got enough years behind me and a network of people that I can reach out to that generally we're pretty close.
Monica confirming that Magnus Magnuson is the weekend before. The weekend before. There you go. Here's a super chat. Thank you very much. Patricia, CB's beautiful and outstanding wife. How do you feel about Mitch saying in his video that performance is all dependent on genetics, despite the fact we all know PEDs are the main factor? Really?
Well, I haven't seen what Mitch has said, so we'll put that out there straight away. Thank you for the question. Look, I think way too much focus is on PEDs when it comes to people's performances. And with a sport like strongman, PEDs have a lot less impact than people think, because there are so many factors that come down to performance in a sport like strongman. For instance, if we go back to OSG last year and we look at car walk as an example, people will make the mistake on just getting the pickup wrong. That has nothing to do with PEDs. It is a mistake that you've made in a sport. So performance,
unrefined in an event.
Like I would say, PEDs help a little bit more with brute strength events, like a deadlift. Absolutely, it's going to help you a little bit. Bench press, log, perhaps, even though there's a little bit more technique on the log. But there's so many events in strongman where they almost don't help at all. And your ability to perform on an event, I know natural athletes, and I coach natural athletes that would destroy plenty of people on PEDs. So to say it's just PEDs only is, quite frankly, retarded.
No, you can't say that. It's ignorant.
It is ignorant, because there are people in local gyms taking more PEDs than professional athletes, and they are still very bad.
Yeah.
And there are professional athletes that are either on minimal or none at all that are exceptional athletes. And we've got into this generation now where everyone's just like, that guy's only good because of PEDs, which it might be the case of some people, but I can promise you with many, many athletes, it's not the case. And you could have 10 athletes, you could give them all the same training, all the same PEDs, and you would still have different results come competition day. There is not a you do this, you will succeed pathway. There's so many factors that come into it, and training and nutrition and the ability to perform and genetics are all massively important.
I don't know if you follow some of these things. When Eddie Hall showed pictures of him at 16 and how he looked as a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
I've got 2 kids, 18 and 14, and I can say, granted mine were daughters, but still, I have nephews.
I hope they didn't look like Eddie.
Yeah.
even my 3 nephews. Eddie at 16 was above average. And then you start looking even on some of the bodybuilder side of people, like a Lee Priest or any of those guys, and you're like, there is something to it. And I do think at the genetics meaning, where it's like, no, these guys, it fit their sport. And then we're not even talking about physical adaptations where they've proven, like Michael Phelps has legitimate genetic advantages with lactic acid and everything else. Or you look at, I've had the privilege of meeting Ed Cohen in person. You're like, you're good at deadlift, and I can see why.
Exactly why.
That's something that is taken for granted with genetics. Genetics are very broad in terms of using it as a word, but you can have great genetics for one particular thing. So someone could have short femurs and be an incredible squatter, but they might be rubbish at something else.
And so, if they chose the sport correctly, they could be the greatest of all time.
Absolutely. And genetics are a very, very interesting subject to look deep into, and there can be so many variations on the outcome of those genetics. And like you said, finding the right sport or the right thing for you is huge.
I've been accused of being on gear because of my biceps and shoulders, but I can show you pictures of me skinny at 54 kilos with the exact same biceps and shoulders.
Like you've asked me this before. You're like, oh, do I have good genetics for strength? I said,
not for strength.
No, you've asked me before. And what's my answer?
No.
What's my answer?
I forgot. I'm panicking.
My answer is that you've got average genetics.
Oh, average.
And I would say most people have average genetics. Most people do.
Yeah, it's true.
There's nothing special. There's nothing bad.
Special about me.
It's actually quite rare to have someone with awful genetics and someone with superior genetics, but they do exist.
I'm normal.
But for most people, you're in that normal range, and it's variations on different things.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. You can still become an elite athlete on normal genetics. Lynn is all right. I'll give you a good example of Lynn. Lynn is built better to press than to deadlift.
Yeah, my wingspan is less
than you are a deadlifter.
Yeah, my wingspan is less than my height, and I have long femurs, which make the squat and everything. So I totally recognize that my press is absolutely easier. I've had this conversation with Inez, and we're like, short arms unite.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like people think, oh, that guy's a good deadlifter, so I'm going to do what he does in training. And that you're not doing anything wrong. That other guy is just built better to deadlift sometimes. And their deadlift will improve faster, whereas you may be better at bench pressing or log pressing or something else. There's usually advantages and disadvantages with genetics.
Jane, I'm actually going to be wearing electric clothing this year at the Magnus Magnuson Classic. I'm stepping up my game. So, yes, I will be fully heated. I can't wait. How exciting. We've got David from Sticks and Stones in the chat.
The best comment so far, of course. Yes.
Neil pickups. Watch out for trees, they hurt. Oh, what have you done, Neil?
Oh, dear.
What's he done? Sounds like he's had an accident with a tree. Oh dear.
Let's try and catch up a little bit. Oh, Mike Neal. I won OSG 2016 Euro under 80s. The week after Loz won Europe's and Eddie hit 500. Am I the first ever OSG champ?
For Euros, I believe you are.
You are, Mike. Congratulations, buddy.
How's that for claim to fame?
Oh, massive tree branch fell on me. I hope everyone is doing okay. Oh, I think we're doing better than you, buddy. I hope you are okay.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Sorry, but who is Lynn? Lynn is the man.
Lynn.
This is Lynn. He is the man who organizes and runs the official Strongman Games, which is the world championship for weight classes and the women. And it's also the feeder competition for Giants Live and the world's strongest man in the open men's. There we go.
Technically Giants Live, but
let's face it, there's been some words and bites off the back of it. Runs OSG, James. Thank you, Laura. Lars, how much caffeine do you consume in a day?
Probably more than I should, but not as much as Liz. She's the caffeine addicted one.
Caffeine queen. And speaking of queens, here's Rebecca Roberts. I love OSG and I love Lynn. There you go.
She's coming back to OSG this year.
Yes. Also, I hope everyone had a good week. I'm sick as a dog and hating my life.
Oh my God.
She's struggling as well.
Everyone in my life is falling down with the sickness.
It's your fault.
I know.
You're giving it to all of us.
I'm patient zero. Neil, you need to get me back on the table ASAP.
Rebecca was on the table with me last week.
And me.
A little bit. Yes. Yeah, Liz and Rebecca are arm wrestling.
Queen Beckett in the house. Oh, people just chatting amongst themselves. Throw us questions.
I'm sure there is.
Not using enough.
I see Ashley asked what I think everyone really needed to know, which was OSG shirt colors. I've noticed this is an important thing. There's a lot of packing and coordinating that I will never fully understand, but shirt colors will be released. They're already picked, so it's just a matter of me doing the post, but you've increased its priority, Ashley.
We'll look forward to seeing what they are this year.
It is important though, like you need to be able to coordinate your bottoms with the shirt color. Any chance we can make Strongman Champions League a qualifier for an OSG show, maybe? I'd say it's very similar levels in terms of the open weight men, isn't it?
Does SCL have any weight class?
I think they might run an under 105 show. I don't know for sure. I know Marcel watches, so maybe he can tell us. On the men's side, they have some great athletes that can beat
Reno came from SCL.
Yeah, Reno is the current champion, so they've got a current world's strongest man winner. And Reno was looking at doing OSG, just couldn't last year.
Yeah,
but I think I personally think if you're competing at OSG, you can do the online qualifier and qualify pretty comfortably.
Yeah, if you're doing SCL, you can go and qualify via the online qualifier.
The top athletes at SCL, they're good athletes.
Yeah, and they would be able to qualify if they wanted to. Yeah.
But if SCL wanted to do more with the weight classes, I'd be happy to chat.
There we go.
There you go, Marcel. If you're watching, hit Lynn up. Stephen with a very generous super chat. Thank you, Stephen. How can we help Schmo? Love y'all.
Thank you very much, Stephen. I guess this is coming back to Brian's video talking about
it not making money this year. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a number of factors with this year. Maybe it's just like I know Brian wanted to put on the biggest, best show, and maybe you just have to build up a bit slower.
Yeah, it might be.
There's nothing. I personally, I don't know how Lynn feels about this, but as an athlete, I always like to know what I was competing for. So when I spoke to a promoter, I'd want to know what the prize money was. And then it's up to me if I accept that or not. And I think Brian's tried his best to make it as big as possible. But by doing that, he held back what he was giving athletes. And I've seen this on other promoters as well.
A lot of pressure on himself as well to keep increasing prize money.
Maybe he just focuses on, right, first prize is 40 grand, and just put out what the prize money is from the start. Athletes can then choose if they want to do it.
Something he knows is affordable.
And try and build slowly. What Giants Live have done very well is build slowly. So their first shows were smaller, and they have built a brand and a business that has grown over time. So
organically.
And slowly they've been able to add more prize money to shows, and things have got bigger and better as a brand. I think we've seen a lot of competitions try and come out there and put the biggest show on.
But the money runs out.
Yeah, Fortissimus is a good example. There's been other shows. Wuss, there's been, where they come, they're good for a few years, and then they vanish. We need that longevity and that consistency. And I think sometimes you've got to do that slowly, build up over time.
Make it affordable.
And maybe it's about not spending every bit of money in that first show. Try and build to make the next year bigger and better. Or you invest in equipment, you invest in future shows.
You were a promoter though, Lynn. What would you do with Brian's budget?
I don't know his budget, but one thing I would go and say.
We guess.
One thing I would go and say is, there's a reason to compete at a show beyond prize money, and sometimes it is a bucket list. When we're talking about Magnus as his show, absolutely. There's others where it's the title. World's Strongest Man is absolutely. It's been in there. You talk about the prize money from 10 years ago not being the major factor, but I go and say that title can deliver that prize money monthly because of sponsorships and deals. So the one thing that I was shocked by is that the transition to Strongest Man on Earth, it didn't feel like earning that title was treated as big of a thing as I think we believe it is, where it's like, hey, that alone should have been a huge deal in how it was presented. And you're seeing it, marked up there on almost equal playing field with, World's Strongest Man. I would say, Rogue Invitational as an example doesn't have the notoriety that the Arnold Classic, Strongest Man on Earth, World's Strongest Man have. So the Rogue Invitational needs to win on, maybe destination, maybe prize money. I don't think Brian needed to spend quite as much on prize money to get the same caliber of athletes. And this is going to sound nerdy. It reminds me back to 30 years ago playing Sim City. If you ever played that game, and you're the mayor of your world, right?
Yeah.
And you realize that when you start out and you give them police, fire, and water immediately, they're going to be unhappy later. But if you start with just police, then you give them fire, then you give them water, you've managed to go a whole lot further with happy people. So, and you've been able to grow it steadily versus you try to give them everything up front, and nature says that they will want more. And I am victim to this because the title, I desperately wanted to increase prize money. And I had to take a step back this past year where we went from where we were at more like a 75,000 total prize pot to a 51,000. And it was very painful to take that step back. So it's always going to be hard to take a step back. I think with him getting that title from Shaw Classic to Strongest Man on Earth, I don't think he needed to take as much jumps as he did.
I agree. And I think there are other factors as well. Like having the arm wrestling involved this year, there's diversion in the arm wrestling world that caused a lot of issues, and a lot of his attention was taken away from the Strongman show.
Yeah.
I think going forward next year, his attention will be focused on the Strongman. Rightly so. It should be.
I think the latest stream time in Europe
I think
affected
that
the amount of
could have
pay-per-view
a factor for sure. I know plenty of Strongman fans that didn't pay to watch it because it was too late. There's factors that we can always look at, and there'll be other factors as well that he won't have even have mentioned. But you as a promoter know the challenges of putting on shows, and sometimes it is hard to do everything that you want right away. You have to build and have to develop, and I think maybe it is just a factor of maybe it was a little bit too much too soon, or I can't maintain this, because originally the prize money was great because he gave his prize money back.
Yes.
So the money that he won went back into the competition as well. So it's hard to keep kind of topping that when suddenly the guy that won or was a top three kind of contender
money's not going back
into the pot to everyone else. But I hope it does continue because I do think it's a great competition.
Yeah.
It's a different competition, which I think is nice. It suits maybe different types of athletes. Yeah. It gives a different region of the world. I mean, obviously America, but different region again in America, a big show. And I like that we have so many great shows and so many opportunities for athletes to compete. It would be nice to see more and more shows around the world and more athletes developing. I know with OSG, you go into different regions and we're seeing great athletes coming from those regions that I think in a few years are going to produce superstars.
I'm certainly hopeful. I think that strength is universal, and these other countries, they've been crushing it in weightlifting and powerlifting in the weight classes. They just weren't really aware that Strongman had the weight classes in the women. And I'm hoping with them coming on board, having a good time, it'll just grow and everyone will get to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Would you ever do a squat at OSG, Lynn? People are asking.
I would need to figure out a way to solve the subjectivity of the judging. Yeah. That's the number one thing. And then sort of the resets. So, you'd have to have something that's like a monolift so that the adjustments for height are quick. And then you would have to do something that makes depth non-issue, like the pads or some other height kind of situation. But yeah, I mean, it's always on the table. I have to solve those two things.
As an athlete that would have loved a squat in competition, don't do it. There is always too much controversy when it comes to a squat in strongman competition. How many times do we see a squat and then people complain about it afterwards?
Unfortunately, even the one time I squatted in competition, there were complaints that the depth was way too low, and that was a novice comp. Yeah.
It's a very difficult event to get right in strongman because, and at a competition like OSG where we have so many athletes, it would be a very hard. And I'm an athlete that would love a squat. I would have loved a squat, but I just think it's one of those that sounds better talking about it than the actual reality.
It's such a staple, isn't it?
I think everyone should squat. If you're capable, you should squat. But it's not always the best event to have in a competition.
Cousin Fred with the super chat. Thank you, Fred. Lynn, bring OSG to the UP of Michigan or Wisconsin, close to Canada, and many lower level comps that would bring fans. Plus, it would be cheap for me to go. That was quickly followed by a comment from BMX saying, nobody lives in the up, Fred. I don't know. Is it the UP, the up? What is it?
Upper portion, I guess. I have no idea. Upper Peninsula, I'm trying to figure that out. I would just say we were just in Wisconsin, and I think our time of year makes that a bit of a challenge. I agree that there were some great athletes there. I mean, John Hack's local to Wisconsin, which helped us with that. But the time of year has a big impact when we're up north.
Yeah.
So that comment there, I won't read it out. I'll just show it on the screen.
You have to say it in a Boston accent, though.
I don't know what you'll have to say it, Lynn. What's a Boston accent sound like?
Well, the R is sounded different as air. You know, you got to really.
Oh no. Auntie Liz, please check your messages. I've sent you a message. All right, so we already answered this about OSG colours. I didn't realise it was such a big deal. There you go.
Of course it's a big deal.
Okay.
Just because you're not competing there.
Look on the bright side, Lizzie Lozzie. I never get accused of being on steroids, mostly because I resemble some kind of large sea-bound mammal. Neil. Yeah, it's not the worst thing someone could say about me.
So majestic, right?
Yeah. Here's a good question from Chuck. How much has the level of OSG competitors grown in the past 5 years?
So I would take this in two different ways. The number of athletes and from everywhere is one method, and then just I would say the caliber of athlete. And we touched on this a little bit. The first year that I was involved, 2017, Masters kind of with Big Z as the headliner was the credibility. Mm-hmm. And we've gotten to a point where, you could have gone and said that the 64 kilogram women with, Shannon and Rhiannon and, there was a really strong level there. By the way, there still is. And getting to that point, I think now we're at a stage where every single class has a top 10 that is extremely high level. I think we still have categories that you're able to get an invite without being at that correct level to be truly competitive, where you start to see a big gap, but that's getting less and less. The men's open category, as an example, when we first started, it was all just Americans. And now we end up with more countries than World's Strongest Man has, even competitors. I actually didn't see that happening because it was just a qualifier. It wasn't the world title. I thought this is always going to just be a qualifier for Americans to get to Giants Live. And now we see that former World's Strongest Man competitors that want to ensure their spot continue to come up there. So the entire caliber of athletes has risen. I would say the men's open exceeded my expectation on how far that's gone.
Yeah, I think the men's open is ridiculous. I mean, all the classes
year, you had 50 men. I think 4 of them had been at World's Strongest Man before, and not one of those 4 made the top 10.
Which is crazy.
Was one of them made the top?
Like that, yeah.
No, I'm sure not one of them did.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Spencer not in the top 10.
Spencer was in the top 10, you're right. There you go. But it just goes to show the caliber of athlete coming to that competition, though. So there's definitely a ton of credibility there, isn't there? And those guys that we see coming through, Pablo Cordiaco went on to win Europe's Strongest Man. Evan Singleton obviously done incredible things. Luke Richardson, Nick Gardione, like it's genuinely producing great athletes or giving them the opportunity to take that step up.
If you're a top
level.
10 in the open show at OSG, you are ready for any show.
Yeah. Ready
for you'll hold your own.
Yeah.
You might not win, but you'll hold your own.
Well, look, like Andrew Burton didn't win, but he won the Arnold's qualifier this year. So
we won't talk about how Andrew Burton did at OSG last year. But,
it was a bad day for him, but he did great at Magnus 2 weeks before. So whatever, man. You know?
The standard is very high.
Yeah,
very high.
And comment here from Monica: as a show with a lower prize purse and who does the prize payout differently, one of the first things we let athletes know is that we aren't a high-paying show, and the breakdown.
And I think that's really important. People love the Magnuson Classic because it's different.
Yeah,
there is history to it in terms of if you're a strongman fan, not only do you want to compete because of Magnus, but you want to compete because it's in Iceland, and that rustic kind of nature, taking you back to old school strongman. Some of the events that they do, obviously, is the Husafell Stone. They get to go and, for a lot of people, even if they don't want to be strongmen, there's people that want to go and just challenge themselves to lift that stone. So there's lots of other factors. Like Lynn said, it's not always prize money that's the biggest factor. I mean, I love strongman, and I competed for pittance.
Yeah.
It's so much better for the athletes now, but prize money is important. I do believe. I think we want to grow the sport. We want to have athletes that can make a living from it, but it's not the be all and end all. There's still other factors that are important.
How does one get permission to name their show Strongest Man on Earth? Do you just name it that? No.
There's rights to a lot of these names.
Yeah.
And
the guy who owned the rights to it sold it, I believe, to Brian.
Yeah. It was the same guy that had the rights to Fortissimus.
Yes.
Paul something, I think.
James Jeffers in the chat can't wait to come back to OSG and
James
standing
the train,
on top.
Jeff.
Yeah, sorry. The train is new to me. I'm not on board yet. Get it? Right.
Very good.
Yes. Third time's the charm. Wow, James, he has Giants Live before that, doesn't he?
Does
he? Do you, James? Yeah, James Jeffers is doing Giants Live World Tour Final. Yeah.
Yep.
There you go. Busy man. You should be in the gym. Good luck, James. You're yes, says Andrew. Was there controversy on the World's Strongest Man squat machine with the loadable kegs? There was sometimes, unfortunately, Rachel, with like the kegs maybe getting caught slightly, like not coming out.
Depth has been a factor.
Depth is always an issue. Yeah, people trying to manipulate machine style squats. There's always bloody something with a squat, unfortunately. There he is.
There he is.
Show him. There he is. Get back in the gym.
What I remember with the machine style squat many different times at World's Strongest Man, the speed at which that person was pulling the next keg down, you'd see the athletes who were really going to win getting mad because they would go up and they'd be like, come on, because you're waiting on that volunteer.
You'd be stupid like me and squat the same weight twice.
Yeah, he squatted the same weight twice. And then he lost out on doing the final event because of a 0.1 second time difference.
I'm not bitter at all.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was when they had like last man standing stones and only second and third place got to do it. And he was tied with third place. We
don't need to talk.
But because he was 0.1 seconds slower, because he did an extra squat like an idiot, he didn't get to do it. We don't talk about it though, ever.
just don't even squat anymore.
He's given up squatting. How soon after they commenced dating did Loz know he'd proposed to Liz? How soon did you know from day one? Probably day one, I imagine. Day one.
I didn't propose to you for a long time.
Yeah, but you knew. You knew.
As we are married now and for an easy life, I knew.
There you go.
That's the correct answer, right?
That is the only
Lynn, help me out here.
I can say that is the correct answer.
Yes.
So right.
Even if I got every other answer wrong tonight, that needs to be right.
Yeah. Right, we have been on for 1 hour and 18 minutes. I promised Lynn, about an hour, Lynn. So we're not going to take up any more of your time because I know you're a busy man.
We're going to have a lot coming up, but we will look forward to seeing Lynn in a couple of months' time.
Yes, yeah. 8 weeks, I think, Lynn.
It was 8 weeks. Now we're at 7.5. So time is slipping by. November 20th through 23rd, we're going to be in Texas. So thankful and grateful that you guys are coming out.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. If you guys are going to be in the area and want to come and watch OSG, make sure you do. I guess they just click on the official Strongman webpage.
There's posts like daily almost, isn't there, on how to buy the tickets?
Yeah. There's a tickets page on the website. You know, it's easy to find out how to if you're able to.
I do think if you are a hardcore fan that wants a nicer experience in terms of it might not be the show to watch in terms of like a production like a Giants Live is an amazing show to watch. But if you're a hardcore strongman fan, there's a much better chance you'll actually get to meet a lot of great athletes and a lot of people involved in the sport, and the backstage kind of side of things is actually really good. It can almost be better than some of those big events. So.
I was going to go and say one of the big differences, you know, is that we still do have security. Athletes can stay in their own spot, but generally speaking, the athletes at OSG, because of the format being just 2 events each day, they take the time to go out and mingle, and you will have that opportunity for a handshake that at World's Strongest Man is a lot harder and a lot hotter sun. So, you know, that's definitely something that I enjoy. A lot of these guys, especially the up and comers, they're thrilled to meet as many fans as possible.
Yeah.
Gosh,
There's always big names kind of there that aren't competing, just kind of hanging around or helping out or coaching. And, you know, there's opportunities to meet a lot of big names in the sport. So, yeah, we will be there as well. We're looking forward to coming. Excited. Lots of amazing athletes will be competing. As we said, great opportunity to see future stars, some of the biggest names in the weight classes, and just a cool insight into what goes on.
Yeah.
Have an amazing week, guys. Lynn, thank you for joining us, guys. We'll catch you next week. Everyone have a safe one. Take care.
Lynn, can we get a smile and wave out of you?